What's happening out there, guys? Welcome along to this show. Actually, before I get going, I should have changed this top. It's bloody green, so I look half invisible. And I see some of you spotted the new addition to the crew there on the Welcome to 420 News. So sweet, glad people spotted that out there. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to whip this off because it looks fucking terrible. Oh. There we go, guys. There we go. Looking a lot better there now. Not half invisible anyway now because yeah, unfortunately, when you wear green in front of a green screen, it kind of makes you look invisible. But guys, welcome along anyway. It's Friday. It's another installment of 420 News. 420 News brought to you by none other than Martin's World. I'm your show host, Martin Condon, and guys, just to remind you, if you want to support the show, support the fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland, sign up to the patreon.com/Martin's World, or you can make a donation in the form of bitcoins through the link found up on martinsworld.ie, which is just floating up above my head. There's a little button up there, you can make a click on that there. All of the funds there, guys, it won't be used to buy me ice cream or anything like that. It'll all be used to fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland by creating a cannabis hub, a cannabis activist hub. I hope to open that up there very soon once these restrictions kind of go away. It seems now like they're saying March 5th, like, which is really a kick in the in-betweens because I was hoping that we would have been able to get together much sooner. I was hoping February things would have reduced, allowing us capacity to hold like meetings of upwards of maybe 25 people. But it seems like no, level 5 restrictions until March. So feck it, we'll just make the most of it. The show will go on. And yeah, I'll just keep gathering those funds. Thanks very much to everybody who has donated so far. There's enough there to cover 1 month's rent anyway at the moment, so like that's a great achievement. So thanks very much to everybody who has contributed to that so far. I really do look forward to bringing that to you once we are able to. So guys, the first bit of news I have for you today, it is, and I'd imagine you're probably expecting me to be covering this, but it's the article which was coming out of this lady's one, and I have to just align my background. There we go, better. But this is coming from this fine lady here, and she's featured on the show before. No, she hasn't been a guest. I've brought her on because she was making comments during the time there when New Zealand had the referendum going for the legalisation of cannabis. And Mary Cannon, pictured here, spoke out against the legalisation of cannabis, saying that it's harmful for the mental health of the youth. And again, she finds herself like all over the media because she's recently published a paper which shows, like it shows, like it almost comes across as if it's like definitive proof here, like this is hard evidence that cannabis use by teenagers erodes their IQ. But in fact, it hasn't. No, like what Mary and her colleagues have done effectively is they've gone through data from other studies, so that they've examined what is it, a number of longitudinal studies, which are basically studies carried out over time following people from different populations. So they looked at how many did they look at? They looked at 7 in total, which involved 808 young people who used cannabis at least weekly for a minimum of 6 months, and 5,308 young people who did not. And participants were then monitored until age 18 on average, although one study followed the young people until the age of 38. But what they really don't talk about here is the fact that cannabis use, just because a person uses cannabis and they can show like a correlation with the lowering of the IQ, it doesn't in fact make a causation, you know. That isn't there at all. And people like Mary Cannon, like she's very an intelligent woman, I'd imagine. Like she's incredible achievements to her name in terms of the years she's put into the academic field. But unfortunately, she's wasted a lot of it in trying to demonize cannabis. Like it seems like she went into this with a predetermined outcome. It's like, right, we need to go through this evidence to kind of come up with the best evidence to show that cannabis use will erode the IQ of teenagers. Go out there and find that. And she got the support of some grants and everything, money by different research councils to kind of carry out this nonsensical research. Meanwhile, we very sick patients like that are needing access to cannabis in Ireland, and they can't even get the research done to support their access. Those patients would be more than happy to probably sign up for some of these studies if they were able to do it. Unfortunately, the laws don't allow that. Now, if you wanted to carry out research to prove that cannabis use causes a decrease in IQ, you would effectively have to take like a bunch of teenagers and like control every aspect of their life, and the only thing that would change in between it would be cannabis. That should be the biggest difference. Like, is one group uses cannabis, the other doesn't, but everything else then in that the lives of those kids should be uniform, and then and only then can you really determine if cannabis use lowers IQ. But there was a very good study done, actually, in fact, and it was a study on twins. I don't know, do I have the image here for the twin study? But look, nonetheless, there's a study that was done by researchers. I think it was out of, geez, where was it? I can't remember where it was done. But I'm going to try to get it up here onto the screen. But it followed twins, and it's a famous enough old bit of research. It was originally published back in 2016, and it basically showed that there was no evidence to suggest that cannabis use, and there is up on screen there now if you want to go and look at this study yourselves. But its impact of adolescent cannabis use on intelligence results from two longitudinal twin studies, and within that, what they shown was that actually, in fact, it wasn't cannabis was causing the IQ decrease, because in certain cases, there was twins where one twin was using cannabis and the other twin wasn't, and both of them experienced IQ drops. So in fact, what the researchers turned around and said, actually, no, it's not cannabis here in these instances. It's actually much more to do with the environment in which these kids are being brought up. Because why isn't Mary Cannon and the likes of them asking the question, like, why is it a kid is using cannabis at 14 anyway? What's wrong with that child that they're seeking refuge in drugs, in some form of drug? Like, again, like, I know cannabis, some people don't like to call it a drug, but like, if a young person is seeking this out at a young age, why? Is there something up? Does that young person need to talk to somebody? Do you know, is that person troubled anyway? Was they destined anyway because of the environment in which they were coming up in? Were they destined anyway to have a lower IQ? Because they were never going to be able to engage with academics, with different things, because there was always this environmental factor holding them back. Not cannabis. Not cannabis. But cannabis was just the thing that gave them, I don't know, comfort. It was kind of almost like comfort, I suppose, in certain regards. They sought refuge when it. So why isn't Mary Cannon going and doing studies then on the opposite? Like, what's the effects of prohibition on the young minds out there? When a young person gets stopped and searched by a cop walking down the road, what's the long-term effects of that? How does that affect that young person's view of authority? Now that authority is coming and kicking in the door and taking away their dad because their dad got caught with cannabis, what does that do to the view of those young people? We never actually look at the effect of prohibition. Prohibition, guys, you don't get a choice whether you take part in it or not. This is policy pushing us by our government, and it's harmful for us. It's harmful for our mental health. It's harmful for kids. It's harmful for our society. It's ridiculous that it's allowed to stay. And then you get dopes like this, and I'm sorry for calling you a dope, Mary, but until you turn around and actually start going and looking at it from the opposite side, like, what are the effects of prohibition? Do you know, how would removing prohibition change the outcomes of your kind of studies there, these longitudinal studies, where, cannabis isn't this kind of underground, type of thing where the people engaging in it are engaging in illegal behavior. There's so much problems. All of this, the research and the studies she's basing her findings are research and studies done from prohibition. Do you know? Will Mary Cannon go look at research and findings? I don't know. It'll take another 10 years for the research to catch up now, well, from states where it's legal. But it's only been a short period of time where we've had many places on the entire planet now where prohibition doesn't exist, where cannabis isn't prohibited. Outside of, say, Holland, but even in Holland, you know, it's still underground because of the fact it's not legal there, tolerated but not legal. So all her research is flawed, absolutely flawed. So she's an absolute gobshite. And look at this. I just want to pop on over here so you can see the extent of the damage that she does with the nonsense she comes up with. I just done a psychological medicine journal, Cannabis IQ. I was actually trying to find the article for Mary Cannon. So I done a quick little Google search there earlier, and I hope this is going to come up for you. Is it coming up? No. Let me see. Still not up? No, you still not see my screen. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to sort this out. You're supposed to be able to see my Chrome, but it's not showing you my Chrome for some reason. You're seeing that. I don't want to show you that. Explorer, Cyclo. There it is. Yeah, there it is. So now you're seeing it. Happy days. But effectively, like, this is what happens when dopes like Mary Cannon, researcher as she is, like, publishes a study like this. The media love to latch hold of it because in just trying to find her article a while ago, and I'm not even looking at the news, like, you can see the scholarly results here where I probably would have found her article, but you just see it all coming up here, like all over the last 48 hours, let's say, all of these results, all of these articles, like, just banging it out. Cannabis use, IQ, it's going down, it's not good, cannabis is bad. Meanwhile, like, what's this doing for the many patients out there campaigning for it, you know? Meanwhile, there's a campaign of demonizing it actively going on by researchers such as herself. It's messed up. It really is messed up, this sort of thing that's going on out there. I wonder, has Mary ever smoked cannabis at all? Like, that's a question I'd love to put by her. What's her experience with it? Like, because if she hasn't ever smoked cannabis, like, if she hasn't just let her hair down, so to speak, like, and just had a quick old waft, you know, it's not that bad, Mary, you know. In fact, I'm going to pack up a bowl now, and just for you, Mary, you know, just to show you, like, it's not that fucking bad, like, it's fake. It's just a plant. It's a herb. I'll acknowledge there's stuff in it that will have drug-like effects or what have you. But look, there's nothing in here that's going to kill me. Unlike some of the psychiatric drugs, where there's been like an almost 500% increase in psychiatric drug prescriptions to kids in Ireland over, I don't know, is that over the last 5 or 10 years? But that's an alarming increase in the prescription of psychiatric drugs to kids. But Marty be okay with that. Oh, great. Marty didn't bring a fucking lighter. What an amateur. Well, as I go grab a lighter, guys, I will just hop on down to another study, which is a study coming off the back of Parkinson's disease, which is that there is high interest in medicinal cannabis as a treatment for Parkinson's. And this was coming from surveys that were carried out across Germany with different Parkinson's groups, and it also involved a clinic there that dispensed cannabis medicines to patients who suffered with Parkinson's. So it got a good diverse range of participants there within it. What they found there, that from the participants who actually weren't using cannabis, like, over 65% of them were interested in it. And of that 65%, then what they said was stopping them from going forward and getting the cannabis was that there isn't proper support there and research, let's say, by different kind of research bodies, you know, the double-blind placebos that they go on and talk about, you know, that there's not enough there, and that the medical professionals then in turn aren't fully behind it. But nonetheless, you know, 65% said, look, that if this stuff was to be ironed out, if the stigma effectively was to go away, they would be well up for it. And Happy days, I got a new, what is that? I don't know, is that a new follower or what? I have to sort out this zombie guy popping up. Don't know what he's popping up for. Somebody liked it somewhere, maybe over on Twitch or something. Or no, I got a Story89 has followed. Happy days, nice one, Story there for following. But guys, look, I have a little video that I'm going to just pop up there on the screen feed that I'd like you to take a quick look at. And you might have seen this before, and it's just looking at the effects of Parkinson's and cannabis. And hopefully there now this will play out for you. I'm just going to quickly have a look at my audio just to make sure that this is going to play back audio to you. Let me know, guys, comments.
Parkinson's disease. I've taken my Parkinson's prescription medication this morning. And this is how it helps, and it doesn't.
Just restarting that there, guys, and I'm going to pull up full screen just so you can see it. In case you don't hear the audio, there is subtitles there at the bottom. I'm going to go get a lighter really quick, and I'll be back to you in 1 second just so I can blaze one for Mary.
And I have Parkinson's disease. I've taken my Parkinson's prescription medication this morning. And this is how it helps, and it doesn't. I've since investigated and purchased some medical cannabis oil. I'm going to have some in a minute, and I'd like you to see how it helps me. This is my oil, cannabis oil. It doesn't taste very nice, so I'm going to put it in a biscuit.
The last thing we wanted to do was have this family.
That's probably a little bit too much, but I'm bad today. And I'm just going to spread it on the biscuit like that. You could do this with anything, but I prefer the sweet biscuit.
Alright, we'll come back in about 10 or 15 minutes and see what happens.
It's been 20 minutes since I've had that butter in the biscuit, and I feel wonderful. No shakes, no nothing. Now you tell me, why can't this be legalised? It helps so many people. It's changed my life. I have such a quality of life now. And I'm forever grateful to the man who organised this for me. Bye.
And just back on time there, actually. Happy days.
The lesson and the moral of this video is don't cheat.
Stop this video, I don't want to see that.
Hello. My name's...
But you got to see that there for yourselves, guys. Like the benefits of cannabis medicine just for one patient. Now, researchers out there like Mary Cannon will brush this off and say, oh, well, that's only anecdotal. Sure, it doesn't matter. Like, but like, this is a human being. This is another person sharing their experience, their story, where cannabis is beneficial for them. And as I say, until our current laws change, the research there is not going to be there to support it, because there's too much stigma there, for one, for researchers to carry out the research. Two, the barriers then, if they do want to engage in that kind of research, they're just really fucking high. Like the bars or the loops they have to jump through in order to get access to cannabis as a medicine, and in order to get access to patients to give them cannabis. Like it's ridiculously fucking high. But yet, nonetheless, you see videos like this all over the internet where patients consume a bit of cannabis and you see their Parkinson's, like the symptoms of it, go away. Are they cured? No. But is it enabling them a better quality of life? 100% yes. Like, those videos speak for themselves. Like, to any person who sees that, you know, and if you're in a place where prohibition exists and you suffer with a debilitating condition and you think there's even the slightest chance that cannabis could be beneficial for you, of course you're going to want to break that law. Of course, if you family members out there who love you, they're going to want to break that law for you and get you that cannabis. And I see all of those bloody stories out there. load all over the place where people are breaking the law, growing cannabis plants for different loved ones suffering from different different conditions, like, and it's all because of prohibition. Then, like, that they have to do it, and all because of prohibition, there isn't research there to support the right for these people to get access to it, like. Fucking maddening, you know what I mean? But shout out to Mary there anyway. I finally got a good lighter this time, one with some cannabis leaves all over it. Yeah, it's lovely effects there by the green screen. But this is going to work. Yeah, there you go. Oh, first time. But guys, nice one for staying with me there anyway throughout the stream. Other news coming in there for me, just bring it back to Ireland and away from the studies, and I really do like covering those studies. But again, just to go back to some other news, there was a headline there that caught my interest from Ireland, and it was that, excuse me, I'll just make sure I'm pulling it up. Yeah, here it was. It was a father of 5 was caught with €700,000 worth of drugs, and he gets 7 years in jail. Like, why this one caught my interest is obviously, look, I'm a dad of 2, but this is a father of 5, and what I was reading in the article is actually he is expecting a 6th fucking child. So one thing's for sure, like, the man likes the old hanky panky, but look, nonetheless, I don't know if he's a good dad or not, but here, nonetheless, society where kids, there's 6 of them now, they're going to be robbed of a dad for 7 years. Was he a good dad or not? Again, look, I don't know. Was he engaged in criminal behaviour? Yes, I suppose he was. He got caught with over €100,000 worth of cannabis and €600,000 worth of cocaine, a bit of cash and stuff like that. A guy by the name of Darren King above in Dublin. But look, like, outside of, I'm not trying to defend what he's doing per se, but just acknowledge the fact that prohibition, it basically it lures people into this, you know. You're a dad, 6 kids, sure, you grow up in I don't know, in whatever kind of an environment, and this kind of a thing is your thing, selling drugs. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy for them to get into only because of prohibition. Do you know, you look at there was a documentary there on Netflix called Crack, I believe it's called, but it was a really good one, and it showed the effect of prohibition. It showed the effect of what happens when there was so many black people getting targeted and locked up there for this. And there was basically an epidemic. They were calling it like a crack baby epidemic, but no, actually what there was a prohibition baby epidemic. Really, if you were to look at it, like the real effects of the crack baby epidemic was actually a prohibition baby epidemic, where there was people getting addicted to drugs. The authorities were powerless to do something. Prohibition wasn't stopping the drugs from getting to the streets, and do you know what I mean? Like the kids weren't really there was no real evidence there. Apparently, it was all flawed evidence that these kids were actually even being born addicted to crack. So that the whole lot was crazy. And then you see the kids then growing up without parents, the effects that can have because of the long sentences they get in the US. Do you know, and these kids then in turn following in the footsteps of their parents, like not all of them, but majority of them following in the footsteps of the parents, because look, nothing was really done to address the root cause of a lot of the problems over there, and mainly prohibition. Like when you look at it, like the controlled drugs that they say they banned, there's no control of them. Like that, there's completely out of control under prohibition. Like, we get rid of prohibition, we can actually control the controlled drugs. It's madness. Like, and again in this story, like, not to defend what he's doing, look, he had a lot of fucking drugs there, in fairness. Like, but I just, like, a dad. He's a dad of so many bloody kids. Now, if drugs weren't illegal, maybe he would have got engaged in some sort of other criminal behaviour. Who knows? I don't know the character of the person. Maybe if these drugs were legal, he might have actually set up a cannabis grow farm. I don't know the background of the story. I'm just fucking blown away by the fact that, like, he's a dad, so many kids, and it's crazy. Again, like, yeah, it's like somebody just commented there, poverty has a lot to do about it, and you'd imagine when you've so many bloody kids, that you are going to be certainly tempted by a bit of drug dealing. Just sell a bit of this and you make so much money. Sure, feck it, why not? Like, sure, I'm driving around in a family wagon anyway, like, sure, no one's going to suspect me. Sure, you might be thinking, who knows? Like, you really just don't know. But again, the temptation is there. It's created because of prohibition. If you prohibition, you prohibit these things that is desired by so many people, you're going to have people like himself willing to sell it. And then the real cost of that now is that there's 5 kids growing up without a father who aren't going to get any, like, okay, like, again, to question, I don't want to question the character. The man, he might have been an amazing fucking father character. The kids mightn't have ever even known he was engaged in this sort of thing, you know? I don't know. I just can't help but think that the effects that growing up without a dad is going to have for 7 years, visiting your dad in a prison cell even, like, it's got to have effects on the kids, again, involved in this. Go back to Tijuana, Mary Cannon, like, there you go, like, maybe some research subjects for you there, looking at the effects of prohibition on kids. But no, nonetheless, Mary Cannon won't be anywhere to be seen on these kind of things. But onwards we go, guys. And actually, I've some more studies to go back to. It's that there was a study that came out of Queensland, Australia. Yeah, so it came out of Queensland University, actually. And it was a study that, again, another one of these long-term studies following groups again. So again, I'm probably just going to make the same points on the previous study, is that, like, the shortcomings of the study. And again, when I found this one, this was actually supposed to be covered on Wednesday's news, but I never got around to it due to running out of time. So I just wanted to recover it. But this was from the University of Queensland, Australia, where it was a long-term study, and it says it reveals harm in regular cannabis use. But again, all it really showed was that people who used cannabis, like, met the criteria that they said were harmful. Like, in this particular study, that they used things like relationship status, like risk of depression. They used the income, like, what kind of income level that the person had by a certain age. I believe it was at the age of 35. This was a study that was started back in 1992, following kids from the age of 15. But again, like, it didn't conclusively prove anything at all. Like, the evidence that they have, it's a marginal at best, and it basically, if they're not talking about the environment in which the kids grew up, who fell into this sort of thing, why relationships broke down. Maybe it was a personal choice. The person actually doesn't want to be in a long-term relationship. Maybe the person doesn't want a high-earning job, and they're happy with where they're at because they're a fucking surfer by day and a part-time, I don't know, chef by the night or something, and therefore they don't fucking have a big income, but they're happy with where they are. You know, but by these guys' standards in the study, they're saying, oh, no, cannabis is harmful. You're a poor achiever. You're a poor achiever now. You know, Mary Cannon would say, you've a low IQ. Like, nonsense, like, absolute fucking nonsense. And like, this study be plastered everywhere, like Mary Cannon's study, and another one. Then I wanted to compare against this, and you won't really hear too much about it from, say, the prohibitionists in regards to the cannabis and cannabis research. And it was a study coming out of Canada. And I talked about this one before, but it makes headlines again because it was published again more recently there in another journal. What journal does it say here in my notes? Excuse me, bit of cotton mouth going on. Grab me ishka. Yeah, it was published in the Asian Medicine or Medical Journal. So this was a study carried out in Canada in the University of Calgary and also the University of Lethbridge. It was carried out with it was a joint study. Hey, pardon the pun, definitely well intended. But it was performed by Pathway Research with teams then from both of those universities. And what they've effectively done is, within the lab, they kind of recreated different tissues which kind of represented the lungs, the tissues within the lung, and they tested different cannabis strains of them then, where they basically induced the cytokine storm. And guys, the cytokine storm, I don't know if you've been listening at all over the last while, but it's been attributed to a lot of the harms done with it's actually one of the most dangerous complications known to occur as a result of contracting the coronavirus, like the COVID-19. And I shouldn't have talked about it actually. My video will get flagged and I'm pulled because I'm talking about like treating coronavirus or something here in some way. But no, I'm only talking about like research that was done, which showed like there was 7 different cannabis strains tested within the study, and they found 3 of the 7 were very effective at being able to inhibit that cytokine storm and effectively like completely reduce the risks of developing those pulmonary fibrosis, which is effectively the permanent scarring of the lungs, which is the most harm that gets done to people because of the coronavirus, like especially people like myself, let's say, who would be kind of young, fit and healthy, what have you. You kind of hear there that there's a scarring of the lungs, which goes on and causes like ongoing problems then afterwards for the people. But again, here it goes to show that like our friendly bit of cannabis here, or at least certain strains of it, are effective at helping it being a very good preventative, effectively. In case you do get it, it's not that if you have it, then you go and take this stuff. It's like, no, you should be taking this stuff in case you get it, because you want it in your system. It seems at a time at when the system needs it. If the system needs it and it's not there, then it's too late at that point, I'd imagine, by what I'm kind of reading here from the study. But it explains here that the cytokine storm that occurs when the body overproduces immune cells and their active compounds, the cytokines, this causes dangerously high blood pressure, lung damage, respiratory distress syndrome, and organ failure. And this is commonly it's probably the most dangerous part of the coronavirus, as they're saying there. So again, why aren't we hearing more and more about this at all? That cannabis could be beneficial there for like fighting off the effects of coronavirus. No, we don't hear about this. No, we don't. Why isn't UCC at the moment like engaging their research greenhouses to grow some of these strains of cannabis and getting out supplementary bloody CBD to the whole bloody of Cork, let's say, on a research project? Let's give the north side the medicine, and the south side can they can get it later. They can have the second half of the trial. But you know what I mean, guys? Why isn't this kind of stuff going on? Really, why weren't we talking about this instead of like what you want? Like look at Joanne back here. Like, you know, why is it this nonsense? Like, why are we stuck with this fucking nonsense? Like, researcher, you know what I mean? Why aren't we talking about the positives, like the Parkinson's, the epilepsy, you know? Instead, like, you know, we're locking up dads who are selling cannabis and cocaine, obviously, as well. Like, but, like, you know, absolutely ridiculous. So, in other news, guys, and this is the final headline I want to deal with today, and thanks very much to everybody and all of the comments, guys. I see loads of comments coming in there. Thanks very much, guys, for engaging with the show. Sorry for not reading out the comments as they're coming in. I should really bloody handle that a bit better, but look, it is what it is. I catch some of them. But the final bit of news comes out of Las Vegas. So Viva Las Vegas, where they have a legal cannabis market now at the moment. But one of the labs down there carrying out some of the tests. So basically in a state where it's legal, cannabis has to be tested before it gets sold on the open market, which is great. Happy fucking days. They do things like testing for the cannabinoid levels, but they also test then for heavy metals, microbials, and different PGRs and banned kind of growth regulators that shouldn't be found in your plants, basically, that are meant for human consumption. But one of these labs down there in Las Vegas, Canex, they've been found guilty. Well, they haven't been found guilty yet. They have been found guilty in the past, certainly. They have a bit of a colourful past. But there's claims in against them now again that they've been falsifying THC results for clients. And that's not good. So the regulators are asking that the board now take away the company's cannabis business license and impose a fine of almost $65,000, and they want to ban them from the industry for over 10 years, which I think it's actually, that's not too bad. Like, I think they should be nearly getting jail for what they've been doing when you kind of look at it in certain regards anyway. Because it's not once. This isn't a one-time affair for this particular company. This has happened in the past where they've been given opportunities to kind of get in line. They've been banned before. They got their license back, and now it looks like they're kind of after effing up again. Because back in 2017, They were banned then from also allowing tainted products to pass on to be sold in dispensaries. So again, there was products taken off the shelf that were found to be not qualified for basically fit for human consumption based on the tests that were carried out in them. Some of them found to be in violation of the microbial ones. In fact, actually, they found 232 instances of unapproved products that resulted from their labs. So absolutely ridiculous, and those were all microbial tests too. Like that's crazy to think. But why I think that's interesting for myself to report on is, what are y'all smoking out there, guys? What are y'all smoking out there? In fairness, like, I know myself, I get cannabis from a local grower here, and I know he grows it for himself and he takes care of it and all of that regard, in order to ensure that the product is good for himself. So I feel somewhat protected in that. I would love to be able to go and get this tested and actually see what the THC and all of that stuff is in there. See if there is anything nefarious in there that the grower might be using, or if there was any microbial because of like poor drying practices or storing practices. You know, I would be very much interested in it. But certainly that is how I protect myself. Like, as I try to get it as close to the source as possible. But guys, what are you all smoking out there? You look at this stuff here, where over in Las Vegas, the guys actually have to falsify lab results in order to just get it past the microbial tests. What's going on out there in the street with cannabis that's been sold to people? Like, again, if our politicians want to be serious about coronavirus and about like public health and everything, prohibition, end it right now, like, and make our, you know, like, make the place where we go and buy our cannabis from a safe place. Because currently it's not a safe place. Make our cannabis safe to consume, because currently it's not safe to consume, because we're getting it from bloody criminals a lot of the time. We're getting it from unregulated sources, and we have no facilities there for us to go and test it, to see if what we're getting is actually what it should be, you know. You hear horror stories out there, but they're not that bad. But people getting caught with CBD flowers, you know, buying an ounce of CBD, and you think it's supposed to be good quality primo bud, but like, you get ripped off with CBD flowers that you should have been able to buy for 100 quid, and you just hand it over for 400 or 500 quid for it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's a good situation. If you got CBD, you know, at least you got CBD. Other situations, people just getting straight up robbed. But look, thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in for today's 420 News. That is all of the news headlines that I'm going to be covering today. Just want to remind you all, guys, as I still see you're there, guys, Monday evening at 8 p.m, I hope to stream Gino Kenny's A Case for Ending Cannabis Prohibition meeting. I'm going to stream that live. I messaged him and let him know I'm going to do it. He hasn't written back and said, no, don't do it. So I'm going to do it there Monday evening, 8 p.m. But most certainly, guys, do make an attempt to get over to Gino Kenny's Facebook page, his Instagram page, and you get the link directly to him. Join his stream. But look, if you want to join me, I am going to have it up there. We will interact a little bit in the comments as well. It'll be good to just create that little bit of interactivity for my own audience anyway, guys. But 8 p.m. Monday night, guys, Gino Kenny, People Before Profit, A Case for Ending Cannabis Prohibition in Ireland. That's the title of the event. Really good speakers lined up as well for it, guys, so it should be good. So guys, comments coming in there from a lot of you out there, and there's some coming in from Twitch. True story, what's happening out there? True story. Nice one for the comments. He says that if I could grow my own, I'd be golden, but I know I'd get stung. That's a heartbreaker, man, you know. But look, it is certainly a great hobby. You are missing out, I will certainly say that. I've done a little bit of growing in the past, but you know, a good tent, a good fan, and a good carbon filter, and you'll have zero issues with smell, if smell is what you're worried about. A 250 watt ballast, and you will never have to worry about your electricity being too high. A 60 by 60 centimeter square corner, you know, that's all you need, and that'll be enough to grow one cannabis plant. And that one cannabis plant, if you grow it good enough, that'll get you enough cannabis for until your next cannabis plant is finished. Don't worry, guys. Do not let fear hold you back, guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's what's fear again? Forget everything and run, or What's the other one? Forget everything and run, or fuck everything and I can't think of the other one. Do you know what I mean? Where you stand your ground and don't let fair fucking rule dictate what you're going to do effectively. Like, do you know, and that's what I say with people out there with cannabis, guys. If you've cannabis in a grinder, you might as well have a cannabis plant in the corner of your room. Effectively, it's still the same argument. It's personal use. It's both illegal. But at least if you're growing it yourself, like you're saving a lot of bucks, and the quality, at least, you know, you somewhat can ensure it. Depending on how green your thumb is. So yeah, definitely true story, man. Try not to let fear hold you back, but if you're still living with mum and dad and mum and dad don't want you to do it, then it's mum and dad's house, mum and dad's rules. Gotta respect mum and dad. Shout out to the mum and dads out there. Some other comments going back early. It's a true story. Also says it's Diageo and the Vintners Association we have to thank for this. And yeah, man, that's hypocrisy right across the board. Knowledge is power says there's a good book by Dr. Carl Hart called Drug Use for Grown-Ups. Dr. Carl Hart, he's a legend. Some really good books he has out there. Certainly a man to be listened to for sure. Will McOwen says, fair play, Martin. You're a real fighter for this, and hopefully legalisation is on the way. Fingers crossed, man, anyway, hopefully. As I say, some protests to come very soon anyway to help speed things up a little bit. Percy's Greenbeard coming in there as well. Shout out to the High and Homegrown podcast crew. He says afternoon, Marty, and all the Canna crew. So shout out there again to Percy and the High and Homegrown podcast crew. He says it's not that we're low achievers. It's like you said, Martin, we're just happier without a lot in life. Exactly, you know what I mean? The measures that they use for outcomes in life, it's not in line with what the measures with our own kind of outcomes in life, you know. But happiness, like, you know, to each their own. And these judgmental kind of abstinence is key, you know, guys. You know what I mean? They don't even want you drinking feckin' tea. Mr. Scooby-Doo says, cheers, lad, just dropped a follow. We'll try to tune in to you. Oh, and that's going out the true story. Sorry, I'm just reading your replies. It's not telling me here what's replies on these comments either, so I can't differentiate them. I'm trying to make sense of stuff as I'm reading it. Teresa says, just like you don't hear about vitamin D, C, E, and zinc, or the ivermectin, it's not in their interest. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of questions to be asked, all right, about the approach to dealing with this coronavirus. And making the public aware of different things, you know, the fact that some of the people that find themselves in ICU, I think it's over 80% of them have deficiencies in vitamin D. So while I'll talk all the well about cannabis, like certainly, like definitely get your vitamins into you guys. Get out there, get a bit of sunshine. Vitamin D is the best way you can get it is from the sun. Next best way then, guys, is from nice high fat foods, nice meaty foods. But anyhow, Teresa also says, or no, that's the same comment. There's some lovely filth down here. He says, studies can pretty much prove anything you want. No, exactly, man. Studies can prove anything you want. I know that myself as an academic. You kind of can have a predetermined outcome from any study. Do you know what I mean? And you can come with it like. And there's even people got in touch with me from the industry who says, yeah, I work from an industry, and we basically get paid to do research. And people come to us with outcomes. They pay us money, and we come up with the outcome that they come to us with, effectively. And that's kind of how it works, you know, and it's fucking a bit of a scam. There's some lovely filth down there. He says, not getting it in the first place is the best way to prevent COVID. 100%, man. Yeah, definitely. Wash your hands, guys. You know what I mean? Wash your hands. And exercise, you know, good nutrition, all of that stuff. Like, look after that human body that we were gifted with at the beginning of life. Vitamins aren't going to stop you getting it, nor is smoking the green. That's just wishful thinking. Sorry, and there's some lovely filth down here. I certainly never said it will stop you getting it, but certainly if you do get it, it seems like certain strains of cannabis anyway can prevent or mitigate the most harmful effects of the coronavirus, therefore reducing the overall risk of the coronavirus to the person who gets it. So that's what I was saying. I'm not going making a claim that cannabis prevents coronavirus, but prevents the risks, or reduces the risks, actually. Sorry, that's what I should say. Reduces the risks overall. Certainly it does. Certain strains of it anyway, based on the study I just read. Other comments coming in there is smoking on some Blue Monster present, says Percy's Greenbeard. Happy days, man. I got some critical kush as always, man. That grower of mine, he loves his critical kush. True Story says yeah, if he could grow his own, read that one there a while ago, he'd only get stung, so don't get left fair getting away, bud. And Podge adds in there, hey Martin, smoking a bit of very nice AK-47, but nearly gone. Oh man, what a heartbreaker. Great show, keep it up, man, he says, and thanks very much, man, and I hope that AK-47 situation works itself out real soon for you, man. If not, remember, it's springtime is coming, guys. Plant those seeds. Keith says he's been caught a few times, and what was the outcome there, Keith, man? I hope hopefully it wasn't too bad. See, you're still commenting in here anyway, so I see you're still a free man. Other comments coming in. I'll just power. See you Monday. Look forward to it. Nice one. And guys, I will be back Monday again for more 420 news. And I do look forward to doing that. And also Monday evening, 8 o'clock, the Gino Kenny event. Other comments. Teresa says we'll be tuning in Monday. Ken says he'll be sharing Gino on every page possible on Monday. Make it global. True Story says good stuff. I have the space and money, just need to get started. Happy days, man. I'm glad to hear that. Like the more people out there growing, the better. As I said, if the guards were to go out there and raid a grower a day, they're going to be busy for the next 5 to 10 years, and that's just in Cork County alone. You know, there's so many people out there that just do their own little bit of growing cannabis. They never be bothered at all because they just keep their head down, you know, stay quiet. I think more people should be doing it, and 100%. Oh yeah, he says it's his gaff, but he's a dad himself, and I can certainly see the worry there. Look, as a dad myself, I was growing before in my own house, and I stopped myself recently because of my activism, because of being such a public outspoken person. You know, like I have cannabis here today. If the cops want to come and fucking raid the studio right now, I don't care. I'll go down happily for this. But do I want them to come while I had a couple of cannabis plants grown like I did a couple of years ago? No, I don't. So I changed that situation. I'm now supporting a buddy who does a bit of growing. I help him out for the electricity. He helps me out back with cannabis, and it's a great mutually beneficial arrangement, and fucking everybody's happy. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna rat him out anyway, and that's his biggest worry. So guys, you know what I mean? Loose lips sings ships and all that stuff. Like, you know, as I say, like once you're not growing fucking a factory load of it out your back garden, and you've 10,000 kilowatts per hour coming out of your socket, you're not going to be worrying, you know what I mean? Keep it low, like, you know, under a kilowatt per hour anyway, and you're doing well, really. But yeah, guys, closing comments there then coming in is Mr. Scooby-Doo says vitamin D supplements daily, lads. 100%, man. Yeah, I get my vitamin D in every morning with my fish oils. Keith Griffin adds in, no, I mean, I've been caught out with the THC smoke a few times. Oh, you've been caught out with it? Oh yeah, well look, that stands anyway. At least you're still alive. You haven't been caught out with anything fucking that's poisoned ya. But unfortunately, man, it is a sting in the pocket and all that, and it's shit. Like, you know what I mean? You're giving over hard-earned money, and a guy hands you back like fucking bunk, like literally just straight up rips you off, and you can't even go to the cops about it. Do you know? So yeah, just to close off on that one, you know, you can't go to the cops about it. But I interviewed Trev Coleman there yesterday, and I'll have his interview out there later. Trev Coleman, his house was getting robbed, and he thought there was people going to be trying to rob his cannabis plants. I believe they were trying to break into his back shed, and he rang the cops, and the cops came and actually arrested him and took his cannabis plants and everything. Ridiculous. So I got to interview him there yesterday. That's in the grinder there now at the moment, going through, and it should be finished hopefully this evening. So I'll hopefully have it up there this evening, maybe early in the morning for yourselves to watch it. But that's Trev Coleman. He's with Seed the Future, and guys, like, you know what I mean, as your cannabis consumer, like if somebody comes and tries to rob this off me right now, I can't do anything about it. I can't tell the cops that somebody tried to rob my cannabis. That's fucking wrong. So on that note, guys, thanks very much. Martin's World 420 News signing off. Guys, thanks very much for all your comments, for all the interaction, guys. Much love to y'all. Stay ablaze, guys, and keep her lit. Peace.